Welcome to the Danny Clinkscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Insightful and witty commentary, probing interviews, and detours from the beaten path.
Welcome to Monday Musings-Danny SportsWrap. It's presented by Dillon's Heating and Cooling. Make sure to go see Jeff and his great crew to take care of all your HVAC needs. Glad to have him aboard as a presenting sponsor, and he is presenting quite a bit today as a wildly overused word is fascinating, but what a fascinating few days of sports we have had. They call it March Madness, and we thought maybe that this year might be a little bit more mad because of all the things surrounding it with COVID-19 and cancellations and everything else. We've already seen a forfeiture in this tournament, but the play on the court certainly has been mad, and we've got upsets galore and tears and joy and great local stories and a whole lot of different stuff to talk about. And, of course, the two teams that were participating from this area, Kansas playing this evening, Missouri out after one game. Those are stories we will tell, and the coaches will help tell them as well. There's also baseball news to be made, and when spring training, when you make news off the field, that's usually the most significant news, and that's what the Royals did. Yeah, they won a game again yesterday and got another great pitching performance from a young pitcher, but it was the news of Sal Perez's 4-year, $82 million contract with an option for a fifth year. That certainly had everybody abuzz, and you can look at it on multiple levels, but in many ways it was just the Royals being the Royals, and good for Sal Perez. He will be around for at least 4, maybe 5, maybe more years with the Kansas City Royals. And we got a little bit of a golf nugget to show the frustrations and, well, the expensive frustrations that can happen on the PGA Tour. All kinds of things to get into right straight ahead, and it is indeed fascinating. It's coming up next, presented by Dillon's Heating and Cooling.
More of Danny's Reasonably Irreverent podcast after this.
The bitter cold snap in February was just another intense reminder of how important it is to have a quality heating and cooling company on your side. That's why you need to know about my friends at Dillon's Heating and Cooling. Jeff Dillon and his top-quality staff provide honest, affordable, and reliable service all year long. Their number one priority is taking care of the customer and focus on being genuine, always following through and standing behind what they say and do. If you need HVAC or AC repair, it's important you get help from a team of professionals. Dillon's Heating and Cooling's team can walk you through a range of products, the advantages of heating and cooling systems, and ultimately help you find the best HVAC system for you. They're always glad to answer your questions and set up an appointment for an installation consultation. Whether you're looking to upgrade to a newer model of your current system or need one installed in a new home, give my friends at Dillon's Heating and Cooling a call today at 913-214-0529. That's 913-214-0529, or visit dillonsheatingandcooling.com to answer all of your questions. Dillon's Heating and Cooling. Their slogan is their goal, always treating you like family. Cinematic Visions has been an affordable solution for professional media production in Kansas City since 2003, offering award-winning video production and creation, as well as a wide array of digital and social media management services. From planning, scripting, filming, editing, and post-production, to delivering your product to a watching world, Cinematic Visions will provide professional and affordable services for you and your business with the necessary return on investment to make it all worthwhile. Cinematic Vision's goal is to unlock the power of storytelling through video and a strong online presence for your company. Beyond the numbers, they want to inspire and evoke your clients to feel and act. Let my friends at Cinematic Visions embed your brand where it belongs, in your customers' minds. You can find them online at cinematicvisions.com or with a quick phone call at 816-600-6300. It's time to visit once again with Dr. Brad Woodle of Advanced Sports and Family Chiropractic and Acupuncture. And Dr. Brad, your group has reached a significant milestone in receiving a prestigious award.
Danny, we've been honored for the 10th year in a row to receive the 5-Star Service Award from Integrity Doctors. And what this means is that all of our offices throughout Kansas City have made sure to give people excellent chiropractic and acupuncture care, be on time, and do a very complete and thorough job, and have great responses back from patients.
I know firsthand because I was just treated, for instance, today by you. You have a wide range of fantastic services.
Absolutely. Chiropractic, acupuncture, physiotherapies, rehab, anything that you need to keep you well in bones, muscles, joints, and nerves.
And I can't say how much it's benefited me in the time I've coming here, upwards of 2 years. My back has improved 100%. And you can have that same kind of treatment too. For more information and your chance for a healthier way of life, visit asfca.com/Danny today. I'm here with David Schmidt from Private Capital. And David, tell us more about your outstanding firm.
Thanks, Danny. Here at Private Capital, we focus on return on asset. In today's world, it is survival of the fittest. We look at things from all angles and try to figure out what works best for you. The changes we will see this next year on assets will be monumental. The key to success is knowledge. Know where you want to go, and we'll be here along the way. To find out more, give us a call at 816-221-7775.
David Schmidt from Private Capital with the best service for you.
If you'd like to join these and other great sponsors and market your business to a growing and engaged audience, contact us at danny@dannyclinkscale.com. Look forward to hearing from you.
Welcome back. And Kansas lives to play this evening, and you can think about it all day long and listen to this podcast and kick back and enjoy the basketball throughout the day. This is a day that usually is a Saturday, but Saturday was the first round day for the locals, as we mentioned, and Kansas playing USC tonight as they try to reach the Sweet 16. I think a lot of people are maybe leaning in the favor of USC. I think I am a little bit, but I feel better about the Kansas chances after what went on Saturday, and maybe that seems a little odd because Kansas was down by as many as 10 points and not just early either. Eastern Washington surged out to a 9-0 lead. Kansas came back, asserted itself, got a 7-point lead. Looked like everything was going to be easy, relatively easy for the high seed, but Eastern Washington was there for the duration almost, as the Groves brothers were just outstanding in this game. Tanner Groves goes for 35 points. He had hit 17 three-pointers, as Bill Self will note, all year long, and he hit 5 in this game. And Eastern Washington did a lot of things well. They shot 50% in the game. They kind of hung with Kansas on the boards. They were in position, certainly, to be there to win the game, but in the end their defense let them down. And what we find out a lot of times with underseeded teams or the lower-seeded teams, and we've, of course, seen a lot of lower-seeded teams win so far in this NCAA tournament, is that 40 minutes is just a little bit too long. And I don't know if they run out of gas, but what in the end happens is that the thoroughbreds of the other team end up coming out on top, and maybe somebody who's a little bit off the radar comes through for the team, and then somebody who's on the radar comes through for the team. And Kansas had many of those stories in this particular game. They were not shooting the ball well early, but then Ochai Agbaji ended up with a decent shooting night and hit some threes. 3 of 9 is not great, but he did hit some when they were most needed. But probably the story of this game, as far as individual is concerned, boils down to David McCormick and DeJuan Harris, as they were just outstanding in the game and timely. McCormick was expected, and you'll hear Bill Self talk about this, perhaps to play 15 to 20 minutes in the game. He ends up playing more than his actual average for the season at 25. He was great in the second half. He ends up with 22 points. The majority of those came after halftime. He was particularly important in the early part of the second half, where he scored Kansas's first 8 points at a time when Eastern Washington was still rolling. And if not for that effort, they might have been out of the game, would be the Jayhawks on Saturday. And they end up with a 13-4 burst just after the midway point of the second half. That put them in control, and Eastern Washington never really threatened after that. And Kansas ends up getting the win. There was a bucket at the end that probably affected some people, as Eastern Washington did not dribble out the game, and they scored a layup with about 5 seconds to go that, in the end, covered the number for Eastern Washington. But Kansas, obviously, I don't think cares about that. Their fans do, but I don't think they do. And they win it by a count of 93-84. It's 21 points for Agbaji, 20 for Marcus Garrett, who was really good. I should have included him in the individual highlight players. And actually ignoring anybody's contribution in an NCAA tournament game is probably not well served. But Marcus Garrett is not supposed to be the type of player who goes out and hits 3 of 5 for you from three-point range. DeJuan Harris is not supposed to be the type of player who hits 3 out of 4. Eastern Washington's strategy clearly was to let those guys hurt you from outside if they were going to, and they did. And when they combined for 6 out of 9, Kansas is going to be a tough team to beat, and that certainly was the case in this one. Christian Braun went for 12. A tough day for Bryce Thompson, to say the least, in the game, as I was monitoring the plus-minus during the course of the game, and when Kansas was getting beat, his plus-minus is something that you would just want to cover your eyes on. In the end, playing 19 rather ineffectual minutes, but just about everybody else who went out on the court for Kansas did a good job. Tyron Grant Foster was, in fact, thought to be perhaps somebody who would be a factor in this game, but McCormick played more than they expected that he would, and Grant Foster only had to play a couple of minutes in the game, did a couple of bad things in those 2 minutes, and Kansas overcomes those things and gets the win 93-84. They move on to take on the Trojans tonight, and no better person to give us a full breakdown of what went on than Bill Self.
Well, obviously, we're just thrilled that we won. Eastern Washington, they outplayed us, for the most part, the first 30 minutes of the game. We had our little runs, but they had more. And certainly the Groves brothers were the two best players in the game in the first half, and we didn't guard them. They had us all messed up with ball screen defense. We didn't look very good at all, but somehow or another we kind of hung in there, and then we kind of turned it on the second half. David really played well considering coming off his isolation with COVID, and Marcus made shots. Juan was probably the best player we had from start to finish, and Ochai and Christian also made some plays. But it was a hard game. It was a great game to win in the tournament. It's great to advance, but we got outplayed for the majority of the game today. They were better than us, and somehow or another we just kind of hung in there and made some plays at the right time. We were playing pretty well as a team there at the end of the season, and David was playing his best ball. And I really thought, and our doctors thought, that we could get between 15 and 20 minutes out of him today. And I certainly, after the way he started the game, I didn't think that he was going to give us much offensively, except, or defensively, just give us 5 fouls. But he kind of got his legs under him, and he was really, really good the second half. I mean, really good. He, didn't get out to the shooters, didn't get out to Groves a couple of times, but he played great, and so it was good to see. Maybe gives me some hope now with Jalen coming back. Maybe he can provide some key minutes for us on Monday, because we'll need everybody. But it was good to see. It was pretty impressive how he played and his conditioning, considering all the stuff he's come off of.
And the other thing, Bill, is just you've coached a lot of NCAA tournament games by now. Can you describe the feeling of being in this for an NCAA game? Obviously, you had it all season, but it's a different kind of stage now to have it be this kind of atmosphere, what this arena felt like. Well,
I'm looking at the stats here, and I got to put my glasses on to see. It says attendance was 961. I mean, so 900 people coming to an NCAA tournament game, and granted, I don't think the atmosphere played a role in who won or who didn't win. It just felt different. It was the coldest arena I think I've ever been in starting the game. I didn't feel it that way at the end. I thought it warmed up some, but I mean, it was literally 60, 58 degrees when the game started, it felt like. And we've been a team that's been a really hot starting team or a really cold starting team, and you get down 9-0, and now the collar gets a little tighter, all these things, and fortunately for us, we were in real trouble if it wasn't for DeJuan. DeJuan came in and kind of sparked us and kind of held it steady for a while, but this had to make the feeling of a real pressure game, and so it's good to get that one out of our system, because hopefully we're going to have a few more of these if we're able to play well.
Can you just talk about Marcus today? He was good everywhere, shot the ball well. I mean, it's what you want from a senior, I'm sure.
Well, that's what I want from anybody. But yeah, Mark was really good today. He 20-8 and 3 assists and 1 turnover, and he played out of foul trouble. So I thought he was great. I thought he and Juan in the backcourt today was probably about as good a twosome as we've had all year long, handling the ball and passing it, and everybody else did fine too. Everybody else did well, but it was nice to see Marcus and Juan shoot the ball like that, because we needed them to shoot the ball like that to win. But sometimes this year we've been playing 3 against 5 so to speak, offensively, because people dare us to shoot, we don't shoot it. And it's a good shot when their shoulders are square, and it was good that they took those.
You might have heard him. He said he wasn't worried when he had the 3 fouls. Were you?
Of course he says that now that he didn't foul the rest of the game. But I didn't feel great about it. But I thought once we got to about the 13 or 14-minute mark of the second half, I felt better because I thought he could manage it the rest of the way.
You also mentioned the mentally tough, that there wasn't any panic, and that's how it looked, at least watching on TV. Why is that? What do you think was in this group or in this game that they avoided that?
I don't know. I think the staff was probably more panicked than the players were. But I actually, these guys, they play at Kansas and they play a lot of big games, and we've been behind a lot and we've been ahead a lot, and we know that it's a long game, and we know no lead is safe and no deficit is too big, until you get to at least a certain point in the game. And so, I mean, that's something we always dwell. When we practice, I love to practice when we don't make shots, so that way we can learn how to continue to grind and those sorts of things. So I think that's as much as anything is the fact that these guys are used to it. It's not anything that I don't think that we do specifically to make them confident in those situations. It's just been there, done it type attitude with most of these guys.
Been there and done that indeed, and Kansas has certainly been there and done that in the round of 32 before, but it should be a very entertaining game. Nice game to settle back at the end of a long day of hoops. You get everything off your plate, and just after 8:30, and these games start on time now because of the way the courts are structured and everything else, a late game is going to start at 8:40 if it's scheduled for 8:40 or so, maybe 8:42. And USC is a good opponent. They have a star player. They have some certain challenges that Kansas has to overcome. This is a toss-up type of game, indeed, but the Jayhawks, I think, feel rightly good. I think they probably feel like they played one of their worst defensive games in quite a while, but their offense clicked in. That confidence should carry over a little bit. As I said, I picked USC in my bracket. I probably still would lean toward them, but I feel much better about the Kansas opportunity to get that victory when they line it up tonight. Well, not lining it up will be the Missouri Tigers as they fall and end up losing, as I mentioned in the Open, 7 out of their last 10 games, and I don't think you can tab it as anything but a disappointment. Missouri at one point in the season was seen to be a 3 seed. They're in the top 10 in the country, and they had some things to overcome during the middle of the season, and Conzo Martin will talk about those a little bit coming up. But with a veteran team, many of whom will not be coming back, many of whom their coaches said should move on. One of the great things about Conzo Martin, his record is not great with Missouri yet. He doesn't have a tournament win, but he cares about young men, and he is of the feeling that they're going to have to convince him if they want to come back, which they can. Any of them can come back. They don't have any eligibility concerns with the COVID situation. But probably several of these players will not come back, and it'll be a rebuild for Mizzou. It'll be a rebuild under the circumstances of now not having won a tournament game since 2010, and their head coach not having won one as the head coach of the team. A couple of big problems in this game. Xavier Pinson was an absolute no-show in the game. He wasn't good, and then he wasn't good to the point where basically Conzo Martin decided not to play him anymore and went with Drew Buggs, and he played more minutes in the end than Pinson. Pinson went 1 for 7. He only had 2 points. Jeremiah Tillman was solid in the game, and Drew Smith was out of this world. If not for Drew Smith, Oklahoma would have cruised in this game, and particularly at the end when Oklahoma seemed safe and seemed to have put this game away with 1:05 to go and an 8-point lead. Drew Smith hit 2 extremely contested three-point shots, about as much as you would want to contest a three-point shot with a big lead, because you certainly don't want to foul the player, and he drilled them both. In the end, Missouri couldn't execute a play to get a good three-point shot at the end. Oklahoma fouls, and they make the right play, and Oklahoma wins it by a count of 72-68. Brady Manick was the person who probably was the one who hurt Missouri the most. Yes, Austin Reeves was the leading scorer, as he usually is for Oklahoma, but he was held to 6 for 16 shooting, but he always plays a lot of minutes, controls the pace, 23 points, but Manick was able to take either Tillman outside, or then when Missouri decided to go with stretch fours against him, they made a couple of mistakes, as will be noted by Cuonzo Martin, and Manek goes 5 for 9 from three-point range, many of them killers. One of them was the one that gave, I think Oklahoma's only ahead of one, or maybe it gave them the lead. But anyway, it was at the point in the game when Oklahoma took control of the game. Harkless was also very good for Oklahoma in the game, and Oklahoma moves on, and Missouri does not. And the discussion about Cuonzo Martin is not whether he's going to have his job or not. He's got many things in his favor. First of all, he's a good man. Second of all, their performance certainly has not been bad as far as win-loss record is concerned, and his contract is almost ironclad, at least for a couple of years. But I think the lack of a tournament win and some of the inconsistencies of Missouri, which were showed in this game, they get off to a nice start. They never seem to really capitalize when they do things like that, and they end up losing this particular game, and just a certain sense of restlessness, and it's hard to imagine that Missouri is going to field as good a team next year as they had this year, and it seems like a lost opportunity, to say the least, and yesterday was a lost opportunity. Were they going to go on and beat Gonzaga? No, but that was going to be a house money type of game. Even if you showed up and played 30 minutes of good ball, like, say, Eastern Washington did against Kansas, that would have been seen as a real gratifying thing, a tournament win, and then maybe a good performance against Gonzaga, even in a loss. Hey, you never know. Stranger things have happened. I don't know how much stranger in the NCAA tournament, but now it's just disappointing. I don't think it's being in any way unfair, and I don't think there's any Missouri fan who thinks anything but the fact that this was just another disappointment in a basketball program that certainly has improved. But the other thing that Cuonzo Martin has in his favor is the fact that he follows on the heels of the disastrous tenure of Kim Anderson, and that makes the accomplishments he has look a little bit better than they probably are. But yesterday certainly was a lost opportunity. It was a tight game, and it was a game that Cuonzo Martin breaks down for us right here.
Hard-fought game, both teams. They played well. Obviously a great game down the wire. We came up short. Reeves was exceptional with the ball, making decisions. Manek made some big-time threes. We had some breakdowns there, but he made them. And they did the right things to win the game down the stretch.
You guys started so hot, 13-3 to open the year, but just 10-10 in the last 3 months. What kind of changed halfway through the season with you guys, specifically in the second half of games, it seemed like?
I just think it was, a little bit of this or that. I think when Tilly went down, I think that was tough for us, obviously, with the death of his grandmother. So now you had to make adjustments there. And then we were just kind of fighting to get back in it and just never really got over the hump on a consistent basis. We did some good things, but just never got over the hump consistently.
Can you speak about just the play of Drew Smith and just how he kind of got you back in the game there in the final minute, and just what did he mean to this basketball team the whole year?
So he just stepped up big. Again, he had a heck of a challenge on the defensive side of the ball with Reeves, who's a very talented player, and he embraced that challenge. Then on the offensive side of the ball, he still got to score and make plays, and he did both. Both those guys played an extraordinary basketball, and they'll play for a long time at the highest level.
Looked like in the second half you wanted to put your fours on Manek instead of Jeremiah. He still got loose for some threes. How tough of a matchup is he? You knew that going in, obviously.
Well, I think those threes with the fours were breakdown threes. And just it's simply like, can he shoot the ball? Yes, and he gets it off quick. But I think that was more breakdowns as opposed to great actions. He's getting open. It was just breakdown. Guys went on their line, up their line, didn't contest the shot like they needed to. And I think it was 2 of them by Kobe. 2 of them with Kobe was defending, and I think 1 with Mitch.
The fact that Drew Smith hit those late threes and when you guys were down 8, you seemed to stay in the game and get back in. What does that say about this group and specifically Drew Smith that you guys never gave up?
Well, I think it's always been that. It's a group that fights, they compete, they play hard, they give themselves a chance to win the game. And it's basketball. You can't give up. You have to work as hard as you can work until the buzzer sounds. And I thought he did it as well as his teammates.
What will you remember most about this team this year?
Oh, man, they did a great job of, getting us back where we need to be as a program. We'll continue to make progress as a program. So they did that. They stayed the course. And, again, this year had a lot of things take place in it, on and off the court. And I thought our guys did an admirable job of being professional, taking it as it comes, not complaining, not making excuses. So I'm really proud of those guys. They're really mature, a great senior group. And just, I think simply said they were professionals from start to finish.
Yes, a few of the things that Conzo said there are probably just coach speak and probably not all that accurate. It was a group that raised the level of Missouri's program, certainly, but it also comes after a disastrous time when Kim Anderson was there, so the accomplishments probably look a little bit better than they really are. It's still a team 4 years in that doesn't have a tournament win under Conzo Martin, and you just have to go back to the fact that it comes down to the word disappointing again. Overused, just like fascinating, I said before, but I don't think there's any other way to look at it. And a scenario that could have played itself out with a tight victory against Oklahoma and then maybe a manageable performance or a reasonable performance against Gonzaga certainly would have done a lot to make the fan base a little bit more enthusiastic about what's going on in the regime of Conzo Martin. There's no reason to be really upset, but there's no reason to be really excited either. And I guess that indeed is the bottom line with the Missouri Tigers. We've certainly got a little bit more of March Madness to talk about, the seeds, some stories, and more. Baseball, a little golf. It's all straight ahead on Monday Musings, Danny Sports Wrap, presented by Dillon's Heating and Cooling.
More of Danny's Reasonably Irreverent podcast after this.
I'm here with Joe Spiker, owner of Easton Roofing, and boy, we had to negotiate a million things in 2020, but Easton Roofing navigated them all. As 2021 rolls out, what should we expect this coming storm season?
Well, Danny, it'll be the same thing as it is every year. The storms come, and you've got the guys out knocking on doors offering quote-unquote free inspections. Be wary as a homeowner. If somebody's knocking on your door, they probably need the work, and if they need the work that bad, they may be willing to do something untoward to get it. So if somebody knocks on your door, says they want to give you a free inspection, just tell them have a great day and give us a call. We'll come out for free and give you a good, honest opinion as to whether or not you need to do anything at all with your roof.
And what's the best way to get in touch with Easton Roofing?
You can always find us online at eastonroofing.com or give us a call at 913-257-5426.
Easton Roofing. Integrity matters.
Right now, it's more important than ever to support local businesses. And 23rd Street Brewery in Lawrence is open and ready to take care of you. Make 23rd Street Brewery part of your KU game day experience, whether you watch the game there or grab curbside pickup for your tailgates or watch parties.
But not just game days. 23rd Street Brewery is great any day of the week, and when the weather's nice, you can take advantage of their heaters on the patio. 23rd Street Brewery is open daily from 11:30 to 9 for dine-in, carry-out, curbside pickup, and can even help with your catering needs.
So support local and visit a Lawrence favorite, 23rd Street Brewery.
Firsthand, I have enjoyed the benefits of the CBD products from Canaway. My back feels better and better these days, as a major part of my routine are the pain-relieving salve and the Pure Gold oil. And recently I had the pleasure of a treatment session using the Canaway CBD in conjunction with the Microlight 830 cold laser. The non-invasive treatment session worked wonders, and I could barely tell I was even being touched. TML 830 is the first 3B cold laser to get FDA approval, and in addition, the combination treatment with CBD is patent pending. The new Smart Laser is the only hands-free cold laser in the world and is used by athletic trainers, chiropractors, MDs, physical therapists, and veterinarians everywhere. You can learn more about all the great benefits from the complete line of Canaway CBD products by contacting my friend Sherry McCants at 515-208-6312. That's 515-208-6312 to get outstanding information about Canaway. I'm here with Tim Emerson, the owner of Emerson & Company. And Tim, give us an idea of the range of services that you provide from Emerson & Company.
At Emerson & Company, we do credit card processing, payroll services. We do bookkeeping, merchant accounts like point-of-sale systems.
What would you say differentiates you from other companies in the field, and what makes you special?
I think what makes us unique is that we're a small local business making regional decisions on companies. We create a profile for the business and then put it out to our different vendors in a very competitive environment and tailor those needs to the specific business, which usually ends up in a great fit or great result for the company.
And, of course, the idea is to save money, right?
Save money, and actually sometimes I'm surprised where actually a solution that may cost a little bit more ultimately does save money, but we're not conditioned to think like that sometimes.
Emerson & Company. Check them out at emerson-co.com or call them at 816-360-9092. If you'd like to join these and other great sponsors and market your business to a growing and engaged audience, contact us at Danny@DannyKlinkscale.com. Look forward to hearing from you. A little more madness for you and an overview of the NCAA tournament. Of course, by the time you hear this, we'll be having more madness, but it's been crazy so far. The Midwest region probably is the real indication of what went on. If Houston had not really stolen their game against Rutgers, it would have been an 8, a 12, an 11, and a 10 remaining. It's still an 8, a 10, an 11, and a 2. And we've seen multiple seeds that are double-digit seeds. There's 7 double-digit seeds in the last 24 teams. In the first round of the NCAA tournament, every single seed line had a win, 1 through 15, except for 16. No 16 won this time around. That's kind of an interesting note in stark contrast to the first round of the NCAA women's tournament. All of the higher-seeded teams won. That was far from the case in the NCAA tournament. Big 12 not faring all that well, to say the least, as we saw now only 3 teams remain. And, of course, today and tonight, it will be Oklahoma and Kansas playing as underdogs, and Oklahoma a significant underdog, and they may have lost by the time that you hear this. Kansas, of course, plays the late game of the day, so all day long you can dig in and enjoy college basketball and know, if you're a Kansas fan, that the one you really care about the most comes up with your feet up and maybe a cold beverage in hand with an 8:40 start from historic Hinkle Fieldhouse, where Bill Self is very excited to be coaching. He hasn't even seen the building that, of course, was prominently featured in the movie Hoosiers. And Bill Self will also have Jalen Wilson at his disposal. He heads to Indianapolis in a private jet. He won't have practice time, but we saw that with very little practice time, David McCormick was a very big factor in the first game. Baylor, the only team that is favored to advance, so the Big 12, very disappointing. We saw Texas Tech maybe with the most disappointing game of them all as far as the Big 12 is concerned, not necessarily considering the opponent because they were the lower seed as a 6 against a 3, but they missed the front end of a 1-1 and 2 relatively easy layups down the stretch, or they would have still been moving on and advancing in this wild and crazy NCAA tournament that we have seen so far. Let's talk baseball, and the Kansas City Royals ink up Salvador Perez, and it is a feel-good story. It becomes the biggest contract in franchise history, 4 years, $82 million. It sort of scales up from 17 in salary to 22 or 23. There's a 13.25 club option in the 5th year, or a $2 million buyout. So all in all, it's about an $85 to $95 million contract if it plays out that way. It's not maybe the biggest contract that's ever been offered. The Royals probably did offer more to Eric Hosmer, but this is a contract that really is very typically Kansas City Royals. There's a lot of baseball reasons why this is probably too much money, and Sal Perez is, like many baseball contracts, being paid for what he has done, not what he will do. Catchers past the age of 30, and he'll turn 31 in May, generally just do not perform, at least offensively, at the level that you're paying them for. JT Realmundo signed a big contract in the offseason. He's a year younger than Sal Perez. He's a little bit better hitter, but it kind of set the bar to allow Perez to get this contract. And are they going to get full value out of it? Seems very unlikely. Now, Sal Perez is obviously had Tommy John in 2019, but he used to be a big hulking figure of a man. He is in so much better physical condition. He clearly works at it. He clearly loves the game. He's got the enthusiasm. He's got everything you need, but especially at a wear and tear position like catcher, it is a contract that carries a lot of risks. But the Royals have done this before. They did it with Alex Gordon. It allowed him to retire as a Royal. That contract was pretty much a disaster. This contract does have the possibility of being that type of contract as well, but they got Sal Perez on the cheap. His first contract he signed with the Royals after his initial time as just going to arbitration, etc., was an incredibly team-friendly contract, to the point where the Royals just ripped it up and gave him another contract, and now as he heads toward free agency, they have handed him big catcher money, right near the top of Major League Baseball, second highest paid catcher in all of baseball, and he'll be 35 when this contract plays out, and we'll see if he plays more catcher because of this. He is someone who has been most of his years in the major leagues a slightly below average hitter, but a above average hitter as a catcher. But if he plays first base a lot, he certainly is a liability as far as offense is concerned. Now, he has shown the fact that he's actually improving on offense as time goes along. Can he continue that? He had a big season last year, but it was only in 37 games, and he missed time last year as well. So this is a contract that is sort of the way that Royals operate. They are loyal. They are a family-oriented franchise, and, Dayton Moore felt great about giving this contract. Sal Perez took less early on. He gets more than he probably should this time around, but still it is something that is very much a feel-good thing, and the fans love Sal Perez, and he is the face of the franchise now, and it is a good face to have in your franchise, someone who just loves the game, plays the game with a smile on his face, an exuberant personality, and let's see if it combines with winning for the Kansas City Royals as well. By the way, the farm system rankings came out the other day from MLB.com, and the Royals are ranked 10th, and that's pretty good considering some of the guys are up. The other news that was made for the Royals this weekend is that Bobby Witt will not break camp with the Kansas City Royals. He is farmed out, and even though Nicky Lopez is hitting under 100 in spring training, it appears likely that he will start the season playing second base, but it won't be long, undoubtedly, before Bobby Witt Jr. comes up. But the Royals do what, in many ways, is the right thing, and did they do it because of service time? I hope they did, but they probably didn't. This is not something the Royals really very much often do. And as mentioned, they continue to kick butt on the field, winning 6-1 against the Rockies yesterday. And Jackson Kowar pitched a very good game. They continue to get good hitting across the board. It's been a fun spring for the Kansas City Royals, and typified again by the signing of Salvador Perez to a big, big contract, which on many levels produces smiles, other levels can produce a question or two, and we'll see how it plays out. But it's a feel-good story right now. Back to another feel-good story that I forgot to tell while I was still doing notes as far as the NCAA tournament is concerned. That's Joe Pleasant from Blue Valley Northwest. He is from Abilene Christian, and he made the 2 winning free throws in Abilene Christian's upset of Texas. Really great story, and he's somebody who had to really work hard in his career. He wasn't a very highly touted player. Great column by Vahe Gregorian in the Star talking about how he was passed over in pickup games when he was younger, and he gets to have his shining moment. So there, my not-so-shining moment was not tacking on that note when I was actually talking about basketball. Let's wrap it up with a little bit of golf, and this is not a fun golf story. This is a golf story that shows how difficult and just the fine margins on the PGA Tour, but it comes under the context of something that is overall going pretty well. Robert Streb won a tournament in the fall. He is now, after yesterday, ranked 28th in the FedEx Cup, which would mean he would make the Tour Championship, and that is a big, big deal, but I'll get into why it is a big, big deal in a second. Well, he was in contention yesterday at the Honda Classic, which was won by Matt Jones. Incredible performance by him. He shot 61 in the first round, which was 10 shots better than the average, more than 10 shots better than the average for the day on a very difficult day at PGA National. And in the end, he wins the tournament at 12 under par, when second place was 7 under par, and third place was 6 under par, and I'll get to that in a minute. Anyway, in contention was Robert Streb as he came to the 11th hole. He hit his drive right down the middle of the fairway, but pulled his shot into a swale down to the left of the green, dumped his chip shot, chipped up to, say, 4 or 5 feet, and then 3-putted from there, making a triple bogey. And the second putt that he missed of the 3 putts was no more than 2 feet. Anyway, the normally mild-mannered, very mild-mannered Robert Streb shows the true frustrations of the game by chucking his ball in the water and heaving his putter onto his bag. He's somebody who almost shows no emotion on the golf course, but even the best of men, the most calm of men, can have moments like that when you make a triple bogey. And what that triple bogey did, if he had merely made bogey, he would have finished 6 under par. That would have been a solo tie for third. And so he cost himself at least $175,000, and say he'd made the 5-footer. He would have finished in third place all by himself. So it's at least $175,000, maybe more like $225,000. But more to the point, as I mentioned, he is at 28th in the FedEx Cup standings, and if he were to make the Tour Championship, it's a big deal. Now, say he tossed away a few FedEx Cup points with that particular hole, which, even a golfer like me, when you're standing in the middle of the fairway with a fairly short club in your hand and then you end up making even a bogey, you're upset. He made triple bogey, but say he misses the Tour Championship by a couple spots. Last place at the Tour Championship is $400,000. Now, Robert Streb has won a couple of tournaments in his career. He's made a whole lot of money, so it's hardly a life-changing thing. But $200,000 and $400,000, that's real money, and it shows the very fine margins on the PGA Tour and the reason that people try so hard to indeed get to the PGA Tour. Another local player yesterday, Harry Higgs, made an eagle on the last hole. That pushed him into a situation where he made about $90,000 when he was probably, if he just made par on that hole, going to make about $30,000. So every stroke counts on the PGA Tour, and boy, did we have a lot of fascinating stories this time around. The word fascinating pops up. I said it before. It's overused. I'll use it a lot for this weekend, and it, of course, continues on even as you're listening right now. It's madness, and it'll be madness still continuing next Monday when we'll be able to talk about the Final Four on a cool March Madness event in 2021 as we continue to try and generate some fun things and get ourselves away more and more from the coronavirus. I actually get my first shot of the vaccine this week, so that is another big life event as well. Thanks for joining me. Stay tuned all during the week for all the various things we do here at the Reasonably Irreverent podcast, and have a great day and enjoy the madness.
This podcast was made possible by our great sponsors like Easton Roofing, the presenting sponsor of Kansas City Profiles at the Danny Klingscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Easton Roofing, where integrity matters. We hope you enjoyed the latest Danny Klingscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Come back soon for something fresh and new.